We welcome you inside our FMH studios for this week's edition of 90s Kids. Tom Trezulli, Ryan Keefe, Brenda Ubaldo. Last week we broke down our favorite 90s movies. Brenda, what are we up to this week?
Today we're going to talk about something very, very, very important. Cartoons.
Oh my!
Because
the foundation of our childhood.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've each prepared our top 3 favorite cartoon characters. I'll start with my number 3. My number 3 is Stoop Kid from Hey Arnold. Stoop Kid, as many of you know, is afraid to leave his stoop, and this is due to severe untreated childhood trauma. And
hold on, are you getting that deep? Do you know if that's like actually the reason? Severe childhood trauma?
Can you imagine a scenario where a man's afraid to leave his stoop, but he has not experienced childhood trauma? He won't go into the outside world.
Yeah, you just convinced me.
He's very afraid. But eventually, after being ridiculed for an extended period of time by the neighborhood kids, Stoop Kid does leave his stoop, which I believe is a metaphor for, one's personal comfort zone. And, in the end, he leaves his stoop, which is good. But, this episode does send the message that bullying someone is the way to snap them out of their phobia, which is not so good. But I still do enjoy the character, and I think he could teach us all a thing or two.
See, I'm not sure how Brenda and I can even follow that, because that had, I think, all of the layers of what we're looking for here. That had a niche character, because that's something that's going to separate you. Sure. And then also it had a deep element to it, It was like you really had something going into that, something that was emotional that we could take out of it. I have my 3 characters, and I don't think I have anything even close to that. Brenda, do you? Or looking at your list?
I think mine is pretty good.
All right, give me your
mine
number 3.
Mine is Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Oh, actually, I can see some emotional stuff
he's like paranoid, really paranoid. But he's actually a hero too, because he has to save his owners from like all these supernatural crazy beings that come around on the farm that he lives on. So I think he's really, I don't know. I liked him. He was funny. He was funny as hell.
When I used to watch that show, there were certain episodes where I was like, I just can't watch this. It's so scary.
It was scary. It scared the crap out of me.
How did that make it onto Cartoon Network airwaves?
But also all the sexual things. Like
there were sexual.
There were definitely sexual
Throw
things.
one out. I'm not going to believe you.
Okay, so like there was this one episode where like the old man that lives on the farm, he came across this like supernatural being that was like a mermaid or something, and it was like very sexual. It was
the mermaid was highly sexualized.
It was their conversation too was pretty intense.
Well, I'm glad I missed that episode. It would have corrupted my youth at the time. Ryan, what do you think about that one?
I'm actually not too familiar with the cartoon, but yeah, I think it's a problem. We shouldn't be sexualizing our cartoon characters.
But at the time, we don't know this. Like, we're just kids. Right, looking back at it
it's
now,
subliminal.
We realize
it's for us to discover later.
as Brenda has looking for this list. But okay, so
what's your number 3?
I thought for my number 3 I was doing something niche, but you completely threw me out on that one.
You're selling yourself short already.
I'm already selling myself short, but it's from one of my favorite 90s childhood shows, the Rugrats. Phil and Lil, the twins, I'm going to bring them in as one character here because they really are like extensions of each other. And tell me if I'm wrong on this. 90% of these crazy things that these babies get into, obviously they do a lot of crazy things, being babies kind of crazy, but 90% of them I think start with something that Phil and Lil say.
Well, Phil and Lil are troublemakers.
They are the troublemakers of the group. And I don't think you would have the show without Phil and Lil being themselves,
Absolutely not.
And also, clothing-wise, I like how they have pretty much the exact same face, exact same hair, except Lil, will separate herself because she wears a bow in her hair. Yeah. She wears pink.
She's the girl one.
She's the girl one. This was
before,
there was distinct gender roles. It was the 90s. That was the time.
Yeah. Though it's pretty progressive for them to be exactly the same in every other way. They're not playing with different toys. Right.
No,
one of them just
they
has
both
a bow.
love eating bugs. It's really they're
that's
gross.
Great.
There's a lot of equality that goes into that, which is
good.
Again with the subliminal messaging. It was a time we didn't notice it, but now we see in our society now how much those twins meant to us.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. Well, my number 2 is Plankton from SpongeBob SquarePants, and
Great choice.
I think what I admire most about Plankton is the fact that he never let other people's opinions of him stop him from following his dreams, despite being labeled evil by all of Bikini Bottom and having the physical limitation of being a microscopic organism. Plankton's always persevering.
Right.
And I believe that to this day, I haven't checked in a while, but I believe to this day he is still seeking the Krabby Patty formula. So I think that says a lot about, following your dreams and sticking to it and persevering and not letting other people's opinions of you change who you really are.
I love how you've read so much into it because I could never watch SpongeBob growing up. I just felt my IQ lowering.
Oh, really? You were worried about your
like
IQ
it.
at 7?
Yeah, I mean, it was very important to me. No, but I just didn't like it at all. I don't know why.
Because we all compiled these. We got the format of the show together, but we all compiled these lists sort of separately.
Yeah.
And obviously Ryan's thought process for these characters were completely different than Brenda and I. But
Very deep.
different opinions
glad.
are welcomed on
Yeah,
this show. That's what our
course.
listeners love here on 90s Kids.
They
Brenda,
love us.
What
That's
about
why
you?
we're like the #1 show. I mean,
Aside from the show about candy, but yes. That is.
So my number 2 is Dee Dee from Dexter's Laboratory. I don't know if you remember her.
Of course.
I love her phrase, "Ooh, what does that button do?" That was just like amazing. She was so annoying, so annoying. But I definitely loved her. And now I have a younger sister. I'm not annoying to her. I am the older sister, obviously. But she's annoying to me. And it kind of just, I don't know, it kind of just brings back Dee Dee. But I mean, she's actually very smart. Her brother's supposed to be the smart one, but she's very smart too. She cares about a lot about inner peace and nature, and she's more understanding of that. So I don't know. I really
You're
like
going
her.
for like cartoon characters I've literally
Never heard
You've
of.
never heard of Dee Dee?
I've heard. I mean, no, I'm not familiar
shows?
with Dee Dee.
What shows were
She
you
wore
watching?
like a tutu. She was a ballerina. She did ballet.
I'm sure she
Dexter's
was,
Lab.
yeah.
Very
What do you mean, I'm
stereotypical.
sure she was.
I don't doubt
Are
it.
you assuming that?
No,
Like,
I'm.
she's a woman?
I'm no. No, I'm saying I'm trusting Brenda here and everything she's telling me about her, but I don't know that. I don't know Dee Dee.
Well, she was a very stereotypical girl. Pink, all pink.
Well, we had
Everything
one,
was pink.
We had one progressive show, and then a
And
show that
then
was a little
Dee
bit
Dee.
regressive.
But she was. I mean, she was a little ditzy, but she was very smart. She had those moments where
Well,
she
anyone
showed.
next to the IQ of Dexter is going to look a little ditzy. He was literally a boy genius,
That's
much
true.
like
That's
Jimmy
true.
Neutron in the past. But I want to hit my second one, and this one is probably my deepest one in honor of Ryan. Squidward tentacles. We all hated Squidward tentacles back then, didn't we, when we were kids? But now
Yeah.
you look at him, he's me, a lot of the time, I feel like Squidward tentacles. I hate the world. Maybe I go to a summer job. This is not all the time.
and you
but
come
if
in
I-
here with such a happy face, and we didn't know all these
if I'm
inner
having
thoughts
a
you had.
busy day where I have a lot of responsibilities, sometimes I don't want to be around people. And neither does Squidward, except he wants to do it 100% of the time.
And at the end of the
That's
day,
true.
when you're practicing your clarinet and yelling at your neighbors, you feel like Squidward.
Exactly.
Right.
Even though I would like to play clarinet to make that my character choice a little bit more authentic. But other than that, I feel like I am Squidward when I want to be, at least.
Cool.
Very nice. All right, my number 1 cartoon character of the 1990s is Butthead from Beavis and Butthead, and it was hard to decide between Beavis and Butthead, but I'm giving it to Butthead because Butthead acted as the spokesman for the two of them, and he always got his point across, and he was never afraid to tell it like it is, and so he would often tell people that they suck or that he and Beavis hates their guts, and I think that being able to express yourself in that manner and not be shy or afraid is a very powerful thing.
Definitely. So we're running out of time here. Let's do a lightning round for our number ones. Brenda, you
Okay,
first.
Scooby-Doo. I loved him.
One reason why.
He was a dog, which is like the only reason you ever need, and mysteries, and it was all fun.
All right, Bugs Bunny from Space Jam. Even though he's like a 50s character, Space
Still, it
Jam is
still
the
counts.
greatest animated
I
movie
loved him
of
too.
all time. Came out in the 90s. Bugs Bunny from Space Jam is my number 1. That's it. Lightning round. Done.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us here on the 90s Kids podcast. I'm Ryan Keefe, and I have been here with Tom Terzulli and Brenda Ubaldo. And join us again next week where we will be discussing our favorite 90s murders. Thank you.
Ooh, fun.
Join us next week.
See you guys next time.